Yes, I see it.
Yay, we're here. How are you?
Good. Hi, Melissa.
Nice to see you. You
Nice to
are in Texas, right?
I am in Houston area.
Good, good. And I should probably introduce you, although I'm sure everybody knows who you are because I've seen people saying that, oh, I'm fangirling, Kelly Clark's coming on. So, and it's so funny because when I'm at the shop and I say that I know you really well and I've been to all these classes with you and I see you at market, people are like, oh, you know her? Like you're like on the movies. So I don't know if you
Oh, God.
think of you, but you're one of the big guns in this industry. And so
Oh, gosh.
Spending
Well,
time.
thank you. But that is so amusing to me because, I just I'm like, my husband calls me the absent-minded professor. And so I don't pay attention to stuff like that. And then when I hear it, it just makes me giggle because I work really hard. And just as an aside, my husband, so I have teenage daughters and an adult son, but my husband will say, girls, your mom is a rock star in the needlepoint world. And they go like, oh, right. How many followers does she have? I'm like, what are followers?
So funny. Yeah. So when I rose above 3,000, my 18-year-old suddenly thought maybe I was something too. So I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm just a little old shop owner. I don't really have any real talent. So
Oh, baloney.
we just collect people like you, and then that makes it good. So, but I have been fortunate enough to take a number of your classes. I think we met. I was probably your nightmare student because I distinctly remember being in a class doing that spring basket. And
Was it the
spring basket with all the flowers and the ribbon work.
Yeah.
I don't
But
have.
didn't you take a private on mittens or something?
God, you have such a good memory. Yes, that's the first time I met you, and I think I was an okay student then. I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't because you remember me from that too. But that was like.
I just remember things like that. I don't know why. I'll remember something that somebody's stitching, maybe not their name, but I'll put the face with the canvas. That's probably the visual arts part of me or something.
Yeah, so that was, I think, about maybe 10 years ago. And then maybe about 8 years ago, I got that spring basket from you. And that's where I think I was dropping a number of very naughty words because I was so frustrated with that wire basket. That's what
I don't remember naughty words. I truly don't.
I was almost in tears, and you were very, very sweet and patient with me. And now that I'm the teacher in many cases, I think I would have killed that me, but you were so sweet. Then I took online class with you, which I shouldn't probably even show this because I'm done. But I am, I don't know, probably about 3/4 of the way done.
That looks great, Melissa.
Well, you are just so creative and fabulous, and I want to talk about some things that refer to that. And I've stitched tons of your designs, and this little mini sock is at my cottage all the time. It hangs on my dresser in my bedroom up here. And then I even taught one of your classes, or I shouldn't say that. I taught one of your designs as a long-term class, which I'm sure.
I remember that. That's your banner on your Facebook page, right? Or is that on Instagram?
One of them, I think on Facebook, on my personal Facebook.
Yeah, I just saw that recently, yeah.
I do a long-term class every year, and that is probably one of my most popular ones, and I still sell that canvas, and it's just so obvious with stitching your designs of the fact that you're a talented designer and a talented stitcher, and those don't always come hand in hand. So we all appreciate you for that. So with all that little intro, that's my personal intro to you. Tell us how long you've been stitching, teaching, designing, stitch guide writing, all those things. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Okay, wow. So,
oh wait, can we back up? I'm sorry, I screwed up. Let's talk about before you did all this needlepoint stuff. There's always a life before. So tell us educationally what you've done and other jobs along the way.
Okay. Well, okay, so before needlepoint, I went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, which I know you're aware of, being a Michigander. Uh, I was born and raised in Ohio, and my first job out of school was with Imperial Wall Coverings,
That's
and I designed wallpaper until from right out of school until I was 30. Oh gosh, I was had Gracie just been born? Great. I guess Gracie was just born. So 2000. So for almost 20 years.
wow.
And the wallpaper industry tanked because faux finishing, it got really big. And I had that career when I met my husband, and I averaged traveling like 28 to 32 weeks a year. I was on the road because in those days we went to the wallpaper factories, and we had to oversee, the designer had to oversee the first run of production.
Really? That's
So yeah, and I was I guess I'm semi an overachiever because I advanced pretty quickly to having my own company and 8 employees, and I designed for Schumacher, Waverly, Seabrook, York, Wall Coverings, you name it. I probably worked for them in some capacity or another. And then if we had coordinating fabrics, we had to go to textile mills. So that was my first career. And then when I had my son Jack, we had a nanny, and I thought, why am I, you know, I'm not with my child. My nanny's with my child. And I mean, I know a lot of people, that's just a fact of life, but it just didn't sit that well with me. Oh, and I know I was pregnant with Gracie, and um, my biggest customer at the time, who was Imperial, but their brand Katzenbeck and Warren, which was a high-end screen print and hand print line. And so Imperial declared bankruptcy, and well, I lost my shirt. Let's just say that. I had to let everybody go, and all my employees, and I want to say well, I had her May 1st, and it was before Christmas. So I was too far along to really travel and try to pick up new customers or, pitch things. And
well,
so I just kind of sat out for a few years. And one of my friends who does a lot of my framing, you can see some of the framed pieces back there. She was a cross stitcher, and she said, you really should go into needlepoint design since you love to needlepoint, because they love their designers, and in
that's good.
wallpaper you're anonymous. And I was like, oh, come on, Edie, I don't really care about that, but I needed to make money, so I started investigating and
So
found my way.
you were a stitcher first before you
Yeah,
designed
yeah.
needle. How did
So
you?
my mom and I, I'm sorry, I just start talking. um, our thing was, when I was a little girl, we would do the classes at the local Y. And so we did knitting and needlepoint, cross stitch, embroidery, silk embroidery. What else did we do? Oh, did I say crochet? We did, crewel also. One of the favorite pieces we did together was a crewel piece, and I loved needlework. So, but the one that stuck really was the needlepoint. And so I just always took a project with me when I traveled, because I went to Europe, and I did not go to Asia, but Canada, Europe, all over, to textile mills, wallpaper mills, trade shows in the design industry and all of that. I was forever in hotels, and I didn't really like I mean, what can you do if you're traveling in a country and you don't know the language? I just would needlepoint.
Me.
Yeah.
So then you started designing, what, 15 years ago or so?
Yeah, well, yeah. So my first trade show was the June TNNA show in Columbus, Ohio in 2005. So
Wow.
by then my daughter Olivia was born. She came in 2003 and I was actually still nursing her when I went to my first trade show. It was
She came
crazy.
along for the ride.
No, 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 no.
We've seen it all
Mommy.
there, which is good. I totally embrace those people who are, trying to do it all. So we've
Oh,
seen people at the trade show with their kids occasionally because they're at such an age. You have to be.
right. Well, they wouldn't allow it. And she was 2. So, she could go without. If she had been an infant, for sure I would have brought her.
I
Yeah.
thought she was just a couple months old. So yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that was my stitching background. But when I did my first trade show, actually the pieces that you can kind of see behind me, the Santa and the angel there, they were I think at that first show, or maybe they were at my second show by then. But it's pattern in, and there's a few rainbow sparkly threads thrown in there, but it's all continental. I didn't even know basket weave when I started there. I mean, I just did all continental stitch with wool. I didn't even use pearl cotton.
That's amazing. Shows you how far the industry's come and how much you've
Yeah.
helped change it too.
Oh, well, gosh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And then when did you start teaching? Obviously, you weren't teaching continental stitch.
No. Gosh, I think I did my first maybe 2008.
Okay.
2008, I think. So a gal that a lot of people know, Janet Perry, who has the blog Nuts About Needlepoint, Janet reached out to me in like, I don't know, the first couple of shows, and she said, I'm teaching a class. Can I do one of your pieces? Yes. And so she taught a class at TNA, and then she said, oh, I love your scarecrow and witch. I'll stitch the witch if you do the scarecrow. And I said, Janet, I don't do fancy stitches. I don't know how to do any of that. She said, well, I'll write the guide for you. And we can talk. I think, gosh, back in those days, we talked on the phone. Maybe I did have my first cell phone, but I certainly didn't know how to text. I mean, I remember my kids teaching me how to text, right? But so I muddled my way through it, but I really liked it. And she had picked a whole bunch of fibers that I was not familiar with. And so I just kind of took it and ran with it. And I think the first sort of series that I did myself that got a lot of traction were the seasonal topiaries, where there's 4 topiaries in the scene, and I did the spring one first and wrote, actually my first few stitch guides, Janet did the writing of the guide for me because I didn't know how to do any of that. And so even on, I think the first ones that I actually wrote were 2 of the baskets, one of my the Provence picnic basket, and one of the little Christmas basket.
Oh, cute.
And that was a big learning curve too. That took a few years, and my husband did the diagrams because he's a graphic designer. And I was writing something, and I called him at work one day. He was with Whole Foods, and I said, honey, you gotta draw these diagrams for me when you get home. And he's like, well, I'm doing the lawn when I get home. You're gonna have to figure out how to do these diagrams yourself. And he made me sit with him, and he taught me how to do the stitch diagrams, how we were drawing them. And I really haven't looked back,
Amazing.
so.
Yeah, because I do, as you know, write stitch guides myself, but I still have not mastered how to draw them on the computer. I still hand draw them and photograph them and insert them, which is very old fashioned, but I think it's
It
harder
works.
than people think it is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't, I certainly don't ever critique that. I mean, it's what you have to do to get the idea across, and I'm fortunate that he made me learn how to do the diagrams. I
That's-
am, because I think it's a skill. It took me several years to really feel comfortable and like I knew the program, very well. So I
and it-
work in Corel Draw, which is it's a publishing industry software, and it's very complex actually. So I never recommend it. People say, "What do you do your diagrams in?" And I say, no. And the learning curve is about 3 years. And if you want to go down that road, okay. But
Well, and if anyone hasn't used one of your stitch guides, you do write an excellent stitch guide. They're always very clear and
thank
very
you.
well organized. So your husband can't call you an absent-minded professor when it comes to, because they're very organized and well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know that you're doing a lot of different things right now. You may find when you get back to your computer after we talk that there might be an Etsy order.
I already know. I sent you, it's so funny. Did you see the text I sent you?
No, I was like, oh, I haven't really looked at her Etsy shop lately, which I'm just going to give you a little plug for that. And you can tell us how you got into that. But if people want to go and look for your Etsy shop, it's Kelly Clark Studio with no spaces on Etsy. So I had a little
Okay.
bit of a hard time finding it, probably because I was like, oh, I haven't looked. I've looked at your Etsy shop before where you sell, by the way, gorgeous needle minders and gorgeous scissor fobs. And I think you've done some other things in there in the past too that I've
I
seen.
did. So I am a lifelong crafter. I initially started my Etsy shop doing some paper mache figurines, like angels and Santas and some pumpkins.
Okay.
And, I thought I was going to set the world on fire with that, but I sold a few.
Oh,
And, but yeah, and so that, I don't remember what year that was, but the Etsy shop, I didn't really use it. It was inactive for, oh my gosh, when did I guess 2017, 16 or 17, I started doing the scissor fobs.
okay.
And yeah, no, it's funny because when you're an Etsy seller, you have the app on your phone, and when you make a sale, it goes cha-ching, like that old fashioned cash register sound. And I was setting up for the Zoom class, and I hear the cha-ching, and I look down and it said Melissa McLeod, and so I sent you a text right away. You are too funny.
Well,
I didn't see what you bought though.
well, what I bought is a little nibble of what I really wanted to do, which is you are doing that fabulous class project with the rooster.
Oh yeah.
And I had looked into it. This was right before the world changed.
Yeah, it was right before the world changed.
You were, I think, teaching it, and there it is.
Wait, here we go. This piece, right?
Yes, I'm in love with it, Kelly. It's so.
Can you see that? I can't.
Yes, it
Yeah.
looks great. It's so beautiful. And so you were teaching that at a couple different places. So I was looking into going to do the class, and
Yeah.
literally this was like March 10th or something.
I know. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, this probably isn't going to happen. So
I was going to teach it in Sarasota, I think.
Yep, that's where
Is that where?
I
Yeah.
looked up her number, and I talked to a girlfriend of mine, my friend Terry, that I talk about, that we stitch together a lot.
Yeah.
And I said, we should do this. And then we didn't. So I bought myself a rooster magnet.
Oh,
It's almost the same, right?
Well, that's okay. It'll be like the little incentive to make you want to keep going with it.
World will change again and we'll be able to get back to that. But in the meantime, I'm guessing that you're doing, maybe have thoughts of doing maybe more classes like you did. So this class for people, I don't know if I was clear about this class with the bees, you did a
Uh-huh.
Facebook group with
Yeah.
uh, stitch guides and things that you sent out. So do you
Yeah.
want doing anything like that maybe again?
So the short answer is yes. Hang on.
Yay, because that was a great format. Very, I mean, even for a time where we could have gotten together, but now
Yeah.
that we can't, it's a great way to do things.
So um, I'd been hearing about this Zoom thing, and Susie Valerie, that owns the Amanda Lawford line and Enriched Stitch, she had like a happy hour on Zoom, and so I did that, but I was really not very certain about how it would work to teach a class, and so I very slowly worked my way into it. But so this piece I am doing as a Zoom class. Can you see that?
Yep, put it up a tiny bit higher, sir.
Meaning like that? Oh,
Like,
higher?
there, now you can see that. Oh my gosh, with all your gorgeous stump work that you're famous for.
Yeah. Wait. So the light's not showing right. But anyway, so we've had our first class, and we had and so I got like a special stand so that I can be on Zoom on the computer and use the phone as my camera and film the demonstrations. And so I feel like a little piece like that was, I wanted to tackle something little like that before something big, but I also have and the dogs came out. The girls let them out of the rooms, but do
Yeah.
they think to come, let them outside to go potty? No, that will be mommy's job.
That's okay.
Uh,
It's down to us. We just see tails.
what?
I said I can just see their tails.
Oh, well, they'll probably soon make their way here. I'm going to text the girls and say they have to
Come get your dogs.
come get the dogs. Yeah. Give me a second. I am so sorry.
Problem. Yeah, so I took that other class on your Facebook group where you just uploaded the video. So it wasn't on Zoom, but that was even a very productive way to do it, and I really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, during the shutdown when it first started, I decided I was going to do a little virtual stitch along and with one of Melissa Prince's canvases, and I was like, how am I going to do this? I'm like, wait, I'm going to do it just like Kelly did it. So I set up a private Facebook group and loaded videos. So you were an inspiration for me for that.
Oh, good. Well, I have the private Facebook page with the little pair too, but the big announcement that is coming is I'm going to do, have you seen Mr. Rabbit?
No, he's fabulous.
You haven't seen Edward Bunny and I haven't decided if they're married, engaged, or if they're just having an affair, but this is Bella Bunny,
I love it.
his girl.
They're gorgeous.
So I am doing a cyber with these, and so I will have Zoom classes with it and the private Facebook page so that everybody can so the girls are not coming to let the dogs out, so I have to call them.
Okay.
Do you mind?
We're gonna pause. We're gonna pause.
Can we pause?
Yep, and then we're gonna come back in a second, everybody. Okay, so I think we were talking about your rabbits. So tell me again what you're doing.
So I'm gonna do the cyber the way I did with the bee skep, and we're gonna start with him and then move on to her.
I love it.
And so I'm making the announcement next week about, cost, how, when, where, all of that. Do I have a thread list? No, I do not. But
Oh,
but I have to start pulling threads.
good. So you'll do it where the class is on Facebook for you, and then shops can promote it and people can pick up their supplies through their local
Yeah,
needle shop.
absolutely. Yep, the same. And but I'm gonna have Zoom classes as well as the Facebook page.
Okay.
And what I found with this little pair, and I'm so glad I'm doing a little piece to test it, is that there are there's 15 signed up, and 8 are always at the class, and others, are hit or miss. And so I think what I've learned is I just have to schedule it. And if people show, they show. And if they don't, they don't, because my big worry was like, oh, I have to find a date where everybody can make it. And you can't. As a shop owner, I'm sure you know that because you have to schedule classes all the time.
Yeah.
And you have knitting too. So,
But now we have no classes. So I'm
well,
loving that. Like Laura, I interviewed Laura Taylor a couple weeks ago, and she's also doing something similar to this. And I'm just so thrilled because it enables me to offer my stitchers classes
yeah,
and not have to fit it in my world, because I'm so blessed to be crazily busy right now.
yeah,
That for me to figure out how to do a Zoom class, as you said, it's a learning curve to do it
yeah,
effectively. Like you can always do it, but you can't always do it well. So it takes
yeah.
some skill
Well,
to get there. So
exactly. And figuring out how to do demonstrations with the camera and share the screen and all the things, the technical things. I mean,
right, we're not
we're
spring
we're
chickens.
not millennials, they know this stuff. We have to kind of figure it out as we go.
Well, that's super exciting. And then, so besides teaching, obviously, you're always painting and designing. So, do you have anything up your sleeve design wise?
Well, let's see if you can see on the drawing board behind me. So I I work with my drawing board up. So I sit with I kind of, my legs go underneath the table and I pull up really close and paint like this because I have a disc issue and I cannot, a lot of people will paint on a table and I can't. I mean, even back when I was designing wallpaper. So I've been on a drafting table since college, honestly. And so I started back then painting that way. And painting for wallpaper is so different than painting on this canvas. I miss painting on beautiful French paper with, gouache instead of acrylics on this canvas. But, this is our craft, right?
Well, you've got
But
of art.
yeah, I try to, I'm not a regular, how to say that? I'm a typical artist. I kind of have to go with, I do so many things and I have to go with, yes, I have deadlines, but I also have to kind of follow what I'm feeling that day. Like some days I can't stitch. I just cannot stitch. And other days I cannot paint, And then to work on the stitch guide, that is like such a different part of my brain because I do all the stitching and everything first, and I will do the threadless early on, but I have to like reverse engineer it to do the diagrams and figure out how am I going to tell people how I did that, and I have literally put off writing a guide because I got stuck on trying to show in the diagram, how am I going to show how I did this? So I've definitely got a lot going on. But anyway, on the drawing board back there are 3 lovely nutcrackers, and I know you can't see them very well. I would have to move my camera, but they are taller than my other nutcrackers, and these are brand new. They will be introduced in the fall.
Well,
And I'm
would have been
going to be stitching them. And they have these darling, well, maybe if I'll get one off of the table here. Oh, Zelda. Zelda is the black and white doggie, and she is rolling on her back with her little paws in the air, trying to be cute and say, "Oh, Mom, pay attention to me." Hi, sweetie. Okay, so this is one of the nutcrackers, and you can see he's a strawberry cracker, and he's got a cake with strawberries, and he has a cupcake for his head.
Oh, it's darling, Kelly.
I just love him, but they're the kitchen crackers because they all have Christmas kitchen desserts on them. But then I did trees. Some people may or may not be familiar with my trees that I put on the stands.
I was going to say earlier when you said that you've been a crafter all your life, my local finisher tells me that she hates you because you do all you do your own finishing. You painted all those bases and you created all those bows, and everyone will send me pictures that I send to her and say, I want it done just like this. And she's like, I have no idea how this woman is. And then I have to try to repeat it. So I'll
send pictures. I'm happy to do that.
You do a great job. People are very envious of your finishing for sure. So you've got such an amazing style.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. It's kind of the artsy craftsy thing. I'll just like picture, how I want it to look. That's how those trees kind of happened. But anyway, the nutcrackers are, I think they're 9 or 10 inches tall, and my earlier nutcrackers were 6. So these are a little bit bigger. So the trees that go with the kitchen crackers are called the sweet treat trees. Say that 3 times fast, right? And they're a little bit bigger than those trees. So yeah, I just decided to enlarge a little bit for that. And I don't know if you can see back there, but there's a drawing sort of right behind my finger there, and that is a very tall cracker, like tall, like the actual cracker himself is 12 inches, and then there's a background and borders. So that's a bigger piece, and I'm planning to paint him soon.
Will he be on 18 or 13 since he's bigger?
Oh, he'll be on 18.
You don't do much on 13, I don't think.
No, not anymore. Some series that I think are a little bit more decoratory, if you will, like I did some seashells, and they're on both 18 and 13 because I thought that they would be something that people would do in basket weave, like with a lovely wool silk blend or something like that, and make those into pillows. So when I think it has that kind of application, I will do both meshes. Okay. But no, not that much.
You have so much beautiful detail in yours. It's harder to get that detail on 13, I know. And so, but tell me this, when you're designing, are you thinking of stitches as you're designing? Are you thinking of stitch counts as you're designing? Or are you just designing what you think feels good and then you work the other part out on the other side?
Everybody asks me that question, and the answer is no. I think ultimately I have to answer that with a no, because I do not think of stitch counts or what stitch would fit in here. Like you said, I work that out on the back end. However, when I'm painting, I will sometimes think of, oh, this technique would look pretty here, or on the nutcracker, like, oh, I want to try a different thread, and maybe I'll try twisting it and fraying it with the comb or something. I do think of those things, but I'm not that precise about it. Like I couldn't possibly think of stitch counts while I was painting. It wouldn't work.
You do though, because your designs are so stitchable. It just feels like that, but that's maybe just an innate part of you at this point, and maybe it's
I don't know.
And then what I also find fascinating when I stitch your things are, you have so many interesting stitches that I've never seen anywhere else. And I feel like all of your stitches just like pop out of your brain. Or do you use books to
Yeah.
inspire you? How does that stitching side go?
They come out of this crazy brain for the most part. Now with the stump work techniques, I did that first. I have it right here. My big stump work sampler. Do you remember that piece? Wait, hang on.
Probably once I see it. As I'm with you, I'm very visual. So sometimes
This
oh yeah,
piece.
yes, it's gorgeous. We had that sample. I think did a sample of it maybe come with the trunk show I had when I first reopened,
It
maybe?
could have been.
Yeah.
Yes, it could have been because I eventually reverse engineered that and did a painted canvas, but that was a true sampler in that I laid it out on the canvas by the like, oh, I want a rectangle here and an oval here and kind of all these overlapping sections, and I stitched all backgrounds first, the whole thing, all backgrounds. And then I thought, well, as I was going, I would sort of think, oh, I think a carrot will go here and a strawberry here. And I wanted to test different, um, like the same motif, like a bumblebee, but try it and stitch it in like 3 or 4 different ways on the actual piece. And so it is a true sampler. And I was also teaching myself stump work as I went because I had fallen in love with stump work. And so I got a whole bunch of Australian books because they were all coming out of Australia or New Zealand, and just kind of taught myself stump work. And so sometimes I'll refer to one of the books, but I pretty much have those techniques up here in this crazy brain now. So I don't really refer to books, but as far as stitches go, sometimes I'll look at a book, but more often what'll happen is after I do a stitch, I'll think, I wonder if anybody else has done this and what they named it. Because I have to come up with the name for it. And I always draw my own diagrams. So I have to be honest and say I really don't use a whole lot of books. I have some. I have a couple of Carolyn's and I have a couple of Julia's, and of course I have, Joe's big book. And
Well, as we all call it.
yeah. and but I don't know. I guess I see a space and I think of the fibers first, I think, and I love combining threads and I love layering stitches. And I don't know, it's just,
Well,
I don't know if that answers the question, but
that was my assumption because and that's why I love stitching something from a stitch guide of yours, because you think I feel like I'm a good stitcher, but I'm not a very creative stitcher. And so when I do things of yours, I'm like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And that's what I think is so refreshing to really for any stitching with any other person's stitch guide. A lot of times it's just really fun to see how they pictured it,
yeah.
they thought of it. But your stitches are never expected and always fabulous. So
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
and so that's kind of how your stitches are inspired. Do you get design inspiration anywhere in particular, or does things pop into your head? Or
Oh boy. Oh gosh, I don't know how to answer that. Yes, and I mean, I'm always looking for design inspiration. I'm a huge Pinterest crazy insane. Like if I'm going to waste time, it'll be on Pinterest, and it's design research, of course, along with recipes and different things. But like, for instance, I sort of tell a story in the beginning of the stitch guides with the little, the little Easter eggs at the little club that's going now.
Mhm.
So those are the ribbon eggs. And when I decided I wanted to do Easter, and I had not done Easter, I mean, until 2016 or something. So, I mean, that was 11 years in the industry, and I never did Easter because I am not a pastel person. And I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna do Easter, but I don't want it to be cutesy, for
Right.
starters. And I want it to be sort of pretty and elegant and use color, but not necessarily all of the different motifs. So the first ones I did were the ribbon eggs. And so I got the inspiration for those from looking at cake frosting, you know, with the roses and the different like very fancy elegant cakes. And I thought, wow, this could be incorporated. I could do this with ribbon and turn these into Easter eggs. So that, yeah,
That's
but
very,
that kind of came from Pinterest. So yeah.
very cool. Well, good. So let's maybe wrap this up a little bit and talk about the designs in your line. You have so many beautiful, beautiful designs. Do you have any idea how many are in your line?
No.
There's a lot of categories when I pull up your page for customers. I'm like, and it's very well organized. I can always find what we're looking for, but you've got a lot of fabulous choices.
When so in 2015, I sold the line to Colonial Needle Company, and they have been an excellent, excellent partner for me. And I actually work as a consultant for them. So I design the line, I do the stitching, the guides, all of that. So I get to do all the creative stuff, and they get to do all the manufacturing and distribution and shipping, and all that's off my plate, you know? So it works really, really well. But okay, now here's another thing that people don't know about me. I am number dyslexic, and I don't know, I can't remember what the term for it is, but I turn numbers. So like if it's 3,000, later I'll think of it as 1,300. I can't hold numbers, and then I flip numbers. So I'll do like I'll turn a 62 into a 26. So that's why I don't really know how many are in the line. I could ask somebody.
That's okay. It's a big, beautiful line. That's the bottom line. So
I know there were at least 1,300 when Colonial took over, and I couldn't say in 5 years how many
well,
I've done.
as a shop owner, you have to have at least 20 plus designs each market minimum.
Oh yeah.
Minimum.
I mean,
So yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, I mean, I probably add, you know, 70 designs a year maybe to the line.
That
Maybe
makes me.
some years more, some years less.
And so do you do you or they retire
Yeah, we do.
designs at times?
I mean, I had definitely done that. If something isn't moving, it doesn't make sense to keep it in inventory. Now, something that's retired is always, you know, orderable. I mean, we don't ever really, I mean, yes, we retire, in meaning we don't keep it in inventory, but we don't lose the masters or destroy the masters, so it can be painted.
Yeah. So is there a bestseller in your line that you're aware of?
Well, that changes, but I would say the 0 Degrees North series that I did, and Amy did the what does she call her clubs? Not a home study.
Yep.
Yeah, that whole series has been a huge seller. It really really rocked it. That was pretty good. And I don't know. I mean, the bird houses have been huge.
A lot of those ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, they have been huge. And I have behind me, I will turn this away from me for a second because I set up on the desk some of the pieces that I have. Can you still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So so here are some of the birdhouses and the spring floral vase, and then over here are I just finished, that was my COVID finish, the Halloween birdhouses there. And then I have this Elegant Thanksgiving series has always sold really, really well. I mean, that's just been kind of a basic, if you will, but the birdhouses have been hugely successful. Oh, there's the rest of my studio back there. I have my art books, and I have a lot of needlepoint tucked in, of course, because you can't have a bookshelf without needlepoint, can you?
Oh, Kelly, it's fabulous. So of all your things, so is there, do you have a least sold one that like kind of breaks your heart that no one's embracing it?
Oh boy, I can't think of anything
that's
like
okay.
that.
And do you have a particular favorite that you've done?
Oh boy.
Your favorite child, I know.
Well, I have a piece, it's over there on the wall that I've always loved, and every time I look at it I still love it, and it is the flower sampler. If you give me a second, I can get it off.
Okay. Make sure it's not too high.
No, it's not too high. Well, maybe if I hold up the camera, I mean, yeah. Okay, so can you see, can you see it up there?
Nope. Up, higher. Nope.
Okay, wait, no, there it is.
There, kind of.
Okay, yeah. So that flower sampler. Anyway, there's that's my favorite maybe piece that I've stitched.
And then you have a stitch guide for, right? I believe that's available.
What?
The stitch guide's available through Colonial for that, I believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's a few years old now. So yeah, it's definitely available. It's called the Flower Sampler. I'll post a picture of it on Facebook later, since I brought it up, and I'll put it on Instagram too, so that people can see it.
Good. Well, we have been going on now for about 45 minutes, so I think we should.
Oh wow!
Bye. Even though I love talking to you, and I'm missed seeing you in March, and I don't think I'll see you in the fall, but
I know
maybe the world will calm down and our health will be solved, and we can get together maybe next year. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we're lucky that this is happening in a time when we can use media like this to reach out to people and try to stay connected and stay relevant. So, yeah, I miss seeing people in person, but I'm very happy to stay safe here in my little nest, you know.
For sure. Well, I look forward to your bunny classes, so I will be.
Oh, thank you.
That sounds
like
so great, and
yeah.
You can count on me to be one of your participants, and then we'll see what else happens. But
awesome.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for interviewing me and picking me. I'm very honored.
You've been one of my first contacts, I think, in this industry, and you know, when I proposed that Noel class and saw you in Dallas, and I was just the little shop girl for my old store owner, and
yeah, I remember.
you remembered me and introduced me to Tom as a longtime friend. I was so flattered. I was like, she remembers me. I'm someone.
Of course, I remember you.
So I'm so glad that we've continued our nice relationship. So
yeah.
Thank you
Thank you.
again for your time.
Okay, and congratulations on the success of this series. I mean, it is, everybody's talking about it, you know.
Well, Megan and I have been having a lot of fun with it.
Good.
It's been a nice situation for us too, bringing everybody together, and
Yeah.
we love learning more. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll
Thank
see
you.
you soon, Kelly. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.